Humanity is once again making the same mistakes and failing as a species. What began as Russia's invasion of Ukraine has evolved into a long and brutal war, while the ongoing Israel-Palestine conflict has reached unprecedented levels of violence and international tension. Many questions still don't have answers, but one of the most common ones is, could there be a third world war? Today, we'll try to answer this question as clearly and analytically as possible. Number 1. Nuclear deterrence. Before 1945, any conflict between major powers could easily lead to a world war. Beyond the two world wars we know, there were other conflicts where powerful nations clashed, like the War of the Spanish Succession or the 7 Years' War. But as technology advanced, wars became more destructive, and the countries involved had less to gain. Then in 1945, the atomic bomb changed everything. The major powers began building massive stockpiles of nuclear weapons. These weapons made world wars almost pointless. Why? Because before then, even tough wars could result in some gains. For example, the US came out of World War II stronger, and the Soviet Union expanded its influence into Central Europe after Germany's defeat. Since then, however, a third world war would mean nuclear destruction, where mutual destruction for everyone involved is almost guaranteed. A large-scale nuclear war could even wipe out humanity and make Earth unlivable. This is why major powers like the US, Russia, and China have avoided fighting directly and instead use smaller conflicts supporting different sides. This is the main reason why the Cold War never turned into an actual war. In short, nuclear weapons act as a deterrent that keeps a third world war from happening, making it highly unlikely. Number 2. NATO's stance. When it comes to the Ukraine conflict, NATO has made it clear that it will not directly intervene, mainly to avoid the risk of starting a third world war. Instead, NATO has imposed economic sanctions on Russia and supports Ukraine with money and weapons. At the same time, NATO has drawn a red line that Russia knows not to cross, attacking a NATO country like Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, Poland, or Romania. To make this clear, NATO has been increasing its military presence in Eastern Europe, signaling to Russia that an attack on any NATO member would have devastating consequences. Number 3. China's stance. China has also stayed away from direct involvement in the Ukraine conflict. It's clear that Russia is too weak to take on a NATO alone in a potential third world war, meaning it would need strong allies. China is the only nation capable of giving Russia the support it would need. However, China has avoided getting involved directly. While it is offering Russia some economic support to help cope with Western sanctions, China has also called for negotiations and hasn't taken military action. As long as China stays out of the conflict, the chances of a third world war remain very low. Without China's support, Russia cannot stand against powerful nations like the US, the UK, France, or Germany, whose individual economies far exceed Russia's. Number 4. Economic deterrence. In addition to nuclear deterrence, economic ties between countries act as another barrier to war. Over the years, international trade has created a web of economic interdependence, where almost no country is self-sufficient. For example, Europe depends on Russian gas, while Russia relies on Europe's payments. Even with sanctions, the European Union was Russia's largest trading partner in 2020, and Russia was the EU's fourth largest partner. These economic dependencies make direct conflict less likely. However, this alone doesn't prevent war completely. The situation would change dramatically if China entered the conflict, as the economic ties between China and the West are much stronger and more important than those between Russia and the EU. Number 5. The risk is never zero. Even with all this, the possibility of a third world war isn't zero. There's always a chance that something could go wrong and spark a nuclear conflict between major powers. But what could lead to such a war? One scenario is the rise of reckless leader or fanatic who prioritizes destruction over anything else. This was similar to Germany in World War II, where Hitler was willing to sacrifice everything rather than Berlin fall to the Soviets. Another possibility is miscalculated risks. Imagine Putin assumes NATO wouldn't act if he invaded a smaller country like Estonia, but NATO might decide to defend its member, potentially starting a large-scale war. Accidents such as a nuclear mistake or other unforeseen incidents could also escalate tensions. Finally, a country might develop a new technology or weapon that gives it an advantage, encouraging it to attack first. While these risks exist, it's important to note that the likelihood of a third world war remains very small. Nothing about current conflicts suggests it will escalate into a global war. Still, we must stay vigilant. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and share it. That's all for now. Take care and see you next time.